Ian Rappaport reveals how Shedeur Sanders destroys every defensive coordinator's game plan. He's not just reading defenses, he's reading minds. And now NFL coaches are panicking behind closed doors.
It's hard to find a starter there. It's not impossible, but it's harder to find. I have thoughts on Shedeur in a sec. Well, I'll answer your Shedeur thing to remind me to answer your Kirk Cousins market thing in a second. I like talking to Shedeur. He was incredibly thoughtful. He views sort of the criticism world, the hot take world, the I'm going to pick you apart world, kind of the same way that I do with Instagram and Twitter comments, which might be why I like him.
You know how it feels when a defensive coordinator believes they have the ideal game plan, and then one quarterback ruins everything they have worked so hard to achieve? That's precisely what's going on in the NFL at the moment. Additionally, Ian Rappaport just revealed some shocking information that is shaking defensive meeting rooms. Our subject is Shedeur Sanders, the youthful quarterback who is making some of the best defensive minds in football appear to be using out-of-date playbooks. Coaches are frantically trying to figure out how to restrict what may be the most intelligent young quarterback we've seen in years after Rappaport's revelations regarding Sanders' preparation method and defense reading skills. You'll see why seasoned defensive coordinators are already scheduling emergency meetings over a player who is changing the rules of quarterback play when you hear what's actually going on behind closed doors, I promise. Let's begin by discussing what people believe to be true about Shedeur Sanders. The majority of people see a young quarterback attempting to establish himself in Cleveland by rising through the ranks of a cutthroat quarterback room. This is where things start to get interesting, though, and Rappaport's inside knowledge becomes vital. Sources familiar with the matter claim that Sanders isn't merely watching film as other rookies do. Defensive coordinators across the NFL are actually worried about what he's doing. Sanders is in the facility at 2 a.m., not just analyzing video but also developing what insiders are referring to as defensive blueprints, while the majority of players are enjoying their beauty sleep. These aren't your normal study sessions. For quarterbacks, Peyton Manning would be proud of the degree of preparation we are discussing. Sanders has been dissecting defensive coordinators' patterns for 3 or maybe 4 seasons, according to Rappaport sources that he is researching more than simply defense tactics. He is researching the reasons behind it. However, this is when things really go crazy. And this is the reason why coaches are having trouble sleeping. Do you recall how, regardless of the defense put up against him in college, Sanders had the amazing ability to turn the right red? As it happens, it took more than simply skill or good instruction. Sanders has become what can only be characterized as a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare, according to Rappaport's exclusive reporting. A methodical strategy to recognizing and taking advantage of play callers' psychological traits. Consider it this way. The majority of quarterbacks research player tendencies, formations, and coverages. Sanders is researching the thoughts of the playwrights. He is determining when defensive coordinators become aggressive, when they become conservative, and, above all, when they become predictable. He seems to be playing poker while the others are playing Go Fish. Additionally, training camp is already displaying the evidence. The report has been informed by sources inside the Browns organization that Sanders has been making readings that had coaches in a state of shock. We're talking about a guy who can forecast defensive coordinator, conduct with scary accuracy, pinpoint coverage rotations that haven't even been deployed yet, and call out blitz packages before they materialize.
He really, more so than many other players, really understands the nature of the 24-hour news cycle and how meaningless a lot of it is, especially in the hot take world. I kind of like that. He's been criticized his whole life. He's had a spotlight on him his whole life. I'm really starting to believe, I'm not talking about him on the field. On the field, the evaluators will make whatever evaluations they have, and he'll be ranked however he's ranked in the buildings. But off the field, I have a hard time imagining a quarterback is better prepared for whatever spotlight he's going to get. If he gets to New York, that's a lot. And there's a lot for Daniel Jones. Eli was kind of used to it, but let's say the Giants take him at 3. There is no prospect better prepared for the Giants or whatever than Shedeur Sanders.
And that competition, that quarterback room in New York would be just utterly fascinating to see how it all plays out. I mean, this is the thing, regardless of where Shedeur goes, and we all know the potential, quarterback teams in the draft. It's the Saints, it's the Steelers, it's clearly the teams that are drafting 1, 2, 3. In all those places, the expectation, regardless of who else is on the roster, is going to be, well, Shedeur is going to play sooner than later. Why would he not? That's not always the case, but more often than not, it does.
It becomes even more fascinating. Do you know how defensive coordinators take great satisfaction in their ability to be unpredictable? It seems like Sanders has discovered something that has them all frightened. Sanders has been researching what he refers to as pressure spots, according to Repart insiders. There are several circumstances under which defensive coordinators are more prone to go off course and return to their comfort zones. Imagine the following situation: a lengthy 2-minute exercise, audience noise, and the third. At their best, most coordinators have a go-to call in this circumstance that they have blindly trusted for years. Sanders has been documenting these patterns for whole defensive systems as well as for specific coordinators. He is aware that around 73% of the time, when some coordinators are under duress, they will call their preferred coverage. What's truly worrying the defensive minds is this: Sanders is sharing these trends with his colleagues in addition to recognizing them. Sanders has been producing what can only be characterized as coordinator profiles for every club on their schedule, according to Rappaport SS sources. From favored blitz packages to endzone propensities to fourth down decision-making habits, these profiles cover everything. However, let's discuss what's taking place throughout these training camp sessions in real time. Keep in mind that it is still July. Teams are still finding their groove, but Sanders is already displaying unique qualities. Insider accounts state that Sanders communicated a defensive modification during a certain practice session before the defensive coordinator had even given the signal. Sanders already knew what was going to happen, so the coordinator had to physically modify the call. Okay, that's impressive, but lots of great quarterbacks can read defenses, you may be thinking right now. However, this is the point at which Sanders is acting quite differently. The majority of quarterbacks read what the defense is displaying. What the defense is attempting to conceal from Sanders is being read by him. According to Repart sources, Sanders has been able to distinguish between playing checkers and 3D chess. Examining the college footage of defensive coordinators, their coaching mentors, and their prior NFL stints, he is recognizing philosophical lines that date back several decades. He is aware that various coverage principles will manifest in particular scenarios when he encounters a coordinator who had his training from Dick LeBeau, while he's facing a member of the coaching tree from Seattle. He has already determined their go-to technique for hiding coverage. What's really amazing, though, is this, and this is where the part about ruining game plans really plays out. Sanders is not only responding to the actions of the defenders, he's making them respond to him. Sanders has been finding what he refers to as coordinator comfort zones and then methodically assaulting those areas until the coordinator is compelled to change, according to material obtained exclusively by Repart. Consider it this way. Each defensive coordinator has certain calls and scenarios in which they are most comfortable. Sanders has been researching these preferences before creating offensive packages that are intended to render those preferred calls ineffectual. He seems to be removing their safety net and making them work outside of their area of expertise, and the psychological toll on defensive coordinators is already starting to show. Rappaport is hearing from sources that some coordinators are already altering the way they prepare games. Not because of what Sanders has accomplished on the field, but rather because of his known abilities. They are just having to take into consideration a degree of intellect and preparedness that they have never seen before. Let's examine the particular strategies that are making coordinators go bonkers, though. Repart's article claims that Sanders has created what insiders refer to as the coordinator tell system. According to Sanders, defensive coordinators exhibit unconscious tendencies that disclose their intentions, just like poker players do. Before ordering a blitz, some coordinators always make a certain adjustment to their headset. Others who are going to call their favorite coverage exhibit certain body language. Sanders has been keeping track of these patterns of behavior and training his teammates to spot them. Consider yourself a defensive coordinator who is aware that your opponent is interpreting your body language as if it were a book. From a strategic perspective, here is where things start to become very interesting. Most quarterbacks aim to be unpredictable in order to get past defenses. By being predictable, but in a way that compels coordinators to respond predictably, Sanders outperforms them. In essence, he is working against them by manipulating their own minds. Report sources claim that Sanders has been practicing particular route combinations intended to elicit particular defensive reactions. He already knows the countermove once he receives the desired reaction. He plays chess as if his opponents are still learning how to move the pieces. However, defensive coordinators may be more concerned about Sanders' flexibility in real time. The premise behind most game plans is that you can recognize a quarterback's patterns and modify your strategy appropriately. Sanders doesn't seem to be acting in a consistent manner. He continuously modifies his strategy in response to the defensive coordinator's actions. According to reports from Cleveland, Sanders has been questioning coaches about particular coordinators' patterns from prior campaigns. He wants to hear how they have responded to tempo adjustments, how they have modified their game plans when playing against mobile quarterbacks, and, above all, how they have handled pressure situations in the past. And this is what coordinators are most concerned about. Sanders is researching not only them but also their players. Based on information obtained exclusively by Rapport, Sanders has been determining which defensive players are most prone to divulge coverage details, which players have communication issues, and which players are most vulnerable to deception. Consider the ramifications of this. In essence, Sanders is developing a psychological profile of whole defense units. He is aware of which safety will cheat on coverage, which linebacker will bite during play action, and which quarterback will become irritated by particular route combinations. Let's discuss the implications of this for quarterback performance going forward, though. Sanders' strategy has the potential to significantly alter quarterbacks' game preparation if it becomes effective. Rapport insiders suggest that other teams are already attempting to ascertain how Sanders obtains his knowledge, suggesting that we may be witnessing the beginning of a new era in which psychological warfare becomes just as significant as physical prowess. A few coordinators are altering the way they communicate. Others are changing the way they communicate, and some are even thinking about employing sports psychologists to assist them in becoming less erratic. In actuality, Sanders may be compelled to change the league as a whole. After decades of success, defensive coordinators are now being forced to reevaluate their whole game preparation philosophy. Sanders seemed to have discovered a cheat code that no one else was aware of. The kicker is this: Sanders is still getting to know the Cleveland Browns' offensive scheme while juggling all of this. When he fully understands the strategy of his own squad, just think of what he will be able to accomplish. The idea of Sanders having this degree of defensive knowledge and a complete awareness of his offensive possibilities is keeping coordinators up at night. The answer to this question will dictate the league's future. Is Shatter Sanders the first quarterback to discover something that everyone else has been missing, or is he a once-in-a-generation football genius? Are we observing the development of quarterback play, or are we seeing a single individual take advantage of flaws that will soon be fixed? What are your thoughts? Will Sanders' method of researching defensive coordinators transform the position? Or will his psychological advantages be neutralized by defenses that adjust? More significantly, how would a defensive coordinator even start creating a strategy against a quarterback who could be more familiar with your habits than you are? Tell me in the comments section below. This is only the start of what could turn out to be the most intriguing quarterback tale in recent memory.